Hello, everyone, and welcome in to crushthestreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri, and we're going to be getting a good update today, Monday, April 9th, on the crypto markets. Bitcoin still below $7,000, Ethereum hovering around 400, a little below 400, and everything just kind of in this state of limbo here. Do we go lower? Are we flattening out, or are we going to go higher here towards the summer? I know a lot of people are expecting a really solid summer here for crypto going forward. I have on the line Peter Saddington. He's a cryptocurrency enthusiast, an investor, publisher of books, just a pioneer in this space. He's with Decentralized TV, also yen.io. Peter, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me today.
I appreciate it very much. Appreciate being with you, Kenneth, and look forward to having some discussions with you.
Absolutely. Well, if you wouldn't mind, tell us what got you into crypto and how you came across it, and why you became such an enthusiast for it.
Well, long story short, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've built 13 startups since 1997. Most of them have failed, though I've been blessed with 2 that have been privately acquired, and so that has availed me the ability and the opportunity to really be on the bleeding edge of tech. And so that's where I really enjoy. I enjoy that, being on that edge of sorts where there's tons of unknowns. And so in 2011, I read an Ars Technica article in October of 2011 that was talking about how Bitcoin had lost pretty much 90% of its value, moving from about $35, $40 to about $2 at the time. And it was such a curious thing to me. I've never heard of such an asset class. Well, first off, the asset class of Bitcoin, which I never heard of, but such an asset class losing so much value in such a small amount of time. And so I did about a month's worth of research, and I came to the conclusion after reading the white paper, the Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, digging into the code. I'm an engineer by trade, and it really, my research over a period of about a month really convinced me that this is a piece of technology that ain't going to go away. And so I finally invested into Bitcoin for the first time in November of 2011 when it was about $1.50. And so that, as you can probably imagine, I'm highly biased around Bitcoin, not only from a coding and kind of the principles behind decentralization, but obviously the price. I think we can all agree that buying in at $1.50 is not too bad of a financial decision when looking in retrospect, wouldn't you say?
That is the understatement of the year, I would say. But I'll ask you a question because I often wonder this, and maybe if you don't want to talk about it, we could always take this out or whatever. But you know what? Did you sell when you were up 10x? How many people who bought cryptocurrencies when it was $1 or $5, how many people actually held on to it when it went to $50 or $100, and to actually have something to show for it when it went to 20,000?
Well, I was during the 2011 periods of sorts. I was deep into the deep web and to the dark web, and so I had purchased items off of the dark web, and you can only use Bitcoin. And so for me, I had learned early that paper wallets were pretty much king, and because it was so confusing back in the day, I remember buying Bitcoin off the BTCE exchange, which is no longer around. It's now defunct.
Been there.
Yep. And so for me, in my naivete, so I think it's important for me to give some context here. In my naivete, I had never imagined altcoins. All the altcoins and the altcoin market that we have over 24 or 2,500 altcoins that are out there right now. For me, in my naivete and my simple logic, I always imagined that Bitcoin would be the only coin around, number one, and number two, any type of forks would be Bitcoin forks. And so it's easier to look back now, but in my mind's eye, and in 2011, 2012, it was, well, there's going to be Bitcoin. There's probably going to be a Bitcoin A, Bitcoin B, Bitcoin C, Bitcoin D, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and different use cases for it. So for me, in my naivete, there was no rational reason why I should sell Bitcoin, because all I thought about or all I had the ideas around is that Bitcoin's here, it's here to stay, and any permutation of Bitcoin is still going to be connected to Bitcoin, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to sell. And so I think I really lucked out in that regard in my ignorance, per se. My ignorance saved me. Because I never imagined that there would be this thing called Ethereum, which was essentially the primary use case is to launch ICOs. And then with that ICO explosion, we obviously have what we have today. And so it was never an issue of selling. It was always an issue of, if this thing is going to continue to expand, it's probably smart for me to just hodl it and just hold it.
Wow.
So that was really it.
It's funny how, quote unquote, the smartest people in the finance world really missed out on cryptocurrencies. I mean, I'm thinking about, CNBC and your mainstream news outlets. They covered it when, Bitcoin was starting to be added as futures, and, when it was kind of reaching its euphoria, as in hindsight, but not necessarily as an investment. But yet people who had this understanding, like, hey, this is going to be big, and maybe not so much too deep in the financial world, but just this understanding that this is a pretty cool thing and this could be really big, are the ones that made a lot of money in cryptocurrency. I feel like people with, high financial IQs kind of smarted their way out of the investment and didn't exactly, and that's how, honestly, I feel what saved me to a large degree. I didn't think about it too much. I just bought it, held it, and that was it. So and not
that really
to say, yeah, go ahead.
That really is, the genesis, right? The genesis of Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, and the whole idea was obviously contextually relative to the financial collapse of 2008, 2009, but at the same time, it was very much a cypherpunk. It was very much a technology-first idea, and so I think that the whole impetus of Bitcoin and blockchain is technology-centric first. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the financial elites and the financial, you would say the high IQ financial people probably missed it, because it was really technology first, and Bitcoin as a financial asset class, Bitcoin as a financial vehicle, really, that was the first application of the blockchain. And so I can completely forgive many people who have, really exceptionally smart people in the financial world for missing this boat, because it really was a technology first, a financial application later. And so that's where we have the mainstream media starting picking up on this and saying, hey, whoa, this is an asset class. What is this all about?
Sure.
Right? And then the FUD and all that stuff started coming up.
Well, and it's really unfair to say that there aren't extremely smart people in cryptocurrencies, and that I don't want people to hear that and think that I'm disparaging people that understood crypto, but I just feel like there's a certain amount of elitist mentality that so many people look down on cryptocurrencies for, and just non-traders and non-financial people were the ones that came in and made a fortune off of it. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the technical side of things, a financial revolution that took place in cryptocurrencies, and it's awesome.
It really is, and I don't think there's anyone that could ever be blamed for their ignorance. I think with any type of new nascent technology, just like the internet, when Tim Berners-Lee came out with it in the early 90s, 92, 93, 94, a lot of really intelligent technology people kind of poo-pooed it. And they said, well, what is the internet going to be used for? I mean, you were alive during those times. And so, and so I don't think anyone could be blamed for their ignorance in not investing in Bitcoin. And on the other side of that token, pun intended, is that the technologists who were deeply involved with Bitcoin, I don't think we really understood what the hell it was anyway. So I think there was, with any type of new nascent technology, it's all about experimentation. And we're still in that phase today, is that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and blockchain is very, very much, in my opinion, in the middle of the experimentation phase of a maturity model of an asset class like this. And so we're living in you know, people say the wild, wild west, but I think that is exactly what it needs to be. This needs to be the period of massive experimentation, massive failures, massive, unfortunately, part and parcel, massive fraud, massive scams. People are trying to figure this stuff out. However, if you look at the core of what makes and the principles behind decentralization and Bitcoin and blockchain, then I think in many ways you can firm yourself on the validity and veracity of the tech, and rather than the price action, because the price action is can give you stomach aches.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Okay, Peter, let's talk about some of the exciting developments happening right now in the crypto space. What has got you fired up at the moment?
Well. So I read the news every day, and we at decentralized.tv, we pump out more videos on the news than any other crypto content creator out there. We usually pump about 6 or 7 videos a day. And so my job is to understand the metagame, is to understand what's going on with the entire world so that I can make informed decisions, not only for the products and services that I'm building, our social exchange, yen.io, but also be able to be better serving our customers and people that want to know my thoughts on how the metagame is moving cryptocurrency. And so the things that I'm super excited about, and I talked about this in my 2017 review. Every year I do a review at the end of the year and tell everybody, hey, this is what we happened in 2017. This is the trajectory and where we're headed, and this is my prospectus for 2018. So the things that I'm super excited about for 2018 are 3 things. Number 1, enterprise blockchain. I think we're going to get to a maturity point, hopefully this year and moving into 2019, where enterprise blockchain is a fundamental reality, and that large organizations, your Accentures, your Deloittes, your Cokes, your Amazons, your Home Depots, your Deltas, I mean, these huge companies are finally seeing the validity and the potential of blockchain. Number 2, Asia. Asia has an insatiable appetite for cryptocurrency. No one that's been in cryptocurrency for at least a week could deny that fact. We have China, we have Korea, we have Japan, we have Singapore, we have the Asia Pacific region. They have a voracious appetite for cryptocurrency, and let's just say regulation aside, they're still moving at an accelerated pace, in my opinion, far beyond the Western states. And so there's such an appetite out there. So keep your eyes out on the Asia Pacific region, specifically China, Japan, Korea, and Singapore. And third, what I'm super excited about is that ICOs and the funding models of ICOs, in my view, I hope to mature. And what I mean by that is we've seen so much stuff popping up in 2016. 2017 was a fire year for ICOs and funding for ICOs. And I think people are starting to get savvy, and I think that's important. I think it's important for the community and the market to mature a little bit. And what I'm hoping is that people will finally begin to see some of the failings that ICOs have intrinsically to the funding model itself. But number 2, I'm hoping that with coupled with a little bit of regulation, we can have not only better consumer protection, but as well we can ensure that we are investing in vehicles that actually have a promise of a product or service rather than vaporware and some Control-C, Control-V, copy and pasted white paper that we've seen far too often. And so to recap, I'm looking at big enterprise blockchain, looking into Asia, and I'm excited about the new innovations coming through ICOs and funding models in the future. What we have with, just a side note, if you probably know, Vitalik Buterin just announced his new Ethereum improvement proposal around DICO. And what DICO does is it helps protect the consumers or investors rather in ICOs to create what he called a funnel or a nozzle or something like that. And so that as project milestones get completed in these new projects, you can open up the funnel of funding so that investors don't lose their shirt up front. And so I think those types of smart contracts are really going to be revolutionary in the near-term future.
Yeah, no, that is really exciting. Okay, so kind of bringing it back a little bit, I mean, you're obviously looking at the build-out of cryptocurrency and how it's going to really change the world here.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the bear market then. Do you suspect that this bear market couldn't be extended? Because I think a lot of people felt like hey, 10,000, we would never see that again. In fact, we're going to 100,000 before we'd ever see any sort of massive correction. That was the optimistic hope, especially people pouring into Bitcoin when it was $17,000, $18,000, $19,000. And, looking at the precious metals bear market, this was extended much longer than anyone would have anticipated from its high in 2011 with this ongoing lower bear market in gold and silver while the Fed printed money into oblivion. And then, you have the stock market just continuing to go up higher than anyone thought would have happened. So being that society or, investors know nothing, what do you suspect is possible in cryptocurrency?
Well, to my audience on Decentralized TV and the streams that I do, I try to help remind people that this has been seen before. If you want to talk about hair on fire, you want to talk about losing your shirt, you want to talk about moments of abject terror, then come with me back to the late 2013 to 2015 period when Bitcoin lost 80% of its value, 85, 90% of its value over a 440-day period. So over a year bear market.
Right.
And so those are the moments when even people like myself, who are highly, I would say, maybe dogmatic and maybe purist and maybe a Bitcoin maximalist, I've been called before. Even for me, I began to have shaky hands. And so for me, having gone through that now, I always like to tell our audience that it's tis but a scratch. It's tis but a scratch. We have seen this. We've traversed these long bear markets or potential long bear markets before. And so the question is are you investing in price action or are you investing in the technology? And that's what I try to reaffirm with my audience, is that the technology, Bitcoin is a protocol. The internet is a protocol. The internet cannot be shut down unless you shut down electricity. Likewise, Bitcoin, as being a protocol, cannot be shut down unless they turn off the internet or turn off electricity. It will continue to expand, likewise, like the internet has expanded over the 20 plus years or so, or 20 years or so. And Bitcoin will do that too. So invest in great technology products, obviously, i.e. Bitcoin as a primary investment vehicle, but look to the long term. Now, to your question, can we see a potential bear market? Absolutely. We can potentially see a bear market, but I don't see that as cause for concern. Remember, if you look at the total market capitalization of cryptocurrency, it is just a drop in the bucket of a bucket of a bucket. Again, we are still in the very new times of cryptocurrency. I think what I'm hoping for, now obviously I'm not a soothsayer, but what I'm hoping for is that those with strong hands, those who, I preach DCAing, dollar cost averaging I don't preach, hey, let's pump and dump, let's make a lot of money. How I've made money over time is cost averaging, $100 a week, $50 a week into this coin, $20 a week into this coin, $100 into this coin. And so it's reduction of risk tactically and financially with the potential of some pretty nice spikes. So can we have a bear market? Absolutely. Do I hope that we don't have one? Here's my perspective. If you look back at the statistics of since Bitcoin came out in 2009, January 3rd till today, you'll generally see that the second quarter of the year is generally a good quarter. Now, we've had the most amount of buzz, so I'm taking into context here, we've had the most amount of buzz around tax implications in the year 2017 and early in 2018 than we have ever had before. We've also had another variable to add into the mix, Bitcoin futures. It's the first time Bitcoin futures has come out, and now we're talking about also Bitcoin ETFs. And so we've had a multiplicity of variables hit the market early this year. And so we've had a lot of extrication of funds and financing from cryptocurrency because of the tax implications, because of the futures, because of all these other variables and mainstream media, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm hopeful for, so again, I'm not a soothsayer, but what I'm hopeful for, considering all the data that we have in the previous years, is that quarter two, right now, moving up to quarter three, I'm hoping for I wouldn't say a bear market, but something that has a small growth period at least. But statistically, this quarter two for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies has generally been a good quarter. So I'm betting on the data rather than my emotions in this regard.
Peter, okay, so let's move along here. In the spirit of this correction phase, a lot of bad projects should dry up. This should really expose the projects that shouldn't be succeeding, because in the bull market, I mean, there was this rise, and you just put a blockchain on any company, and they were raising millions of dollars.
It's a good time to be alive. Yeah,
it was a very exciting time. We'll talk about it, and we'll tell our grandkids about it. But now I got to ask you: are there any decentralized projects that you are aware of that don't necessarily need to be decentralized and will likely fail, in your opinion?
That's a great question. I believe that decentralization is not the answer. And actually, I talked about this on yesterday's stream, decentralized TV stream, is that if I can convey anything to your audience here, is that value creation is far more important than decentralization. Decentralization is not the answer. There's a lot of centralized applications that work just fundamentally better than decentralization, because when you have, and I think this is important, when you have operational complexity or an increase in operational complexity within an organization or within a company, decentralized applications or decentralized solutions or decentralized decision making with the increase in complexity is never going to be the solution. And so I'll give you a couple examples. We have OpenBazaar. OpenBazaar is a decentralized marketplace versus, let's just say, Zappos. Okay, so Zappos. So you guys know Zappos. Zappos works exceptionally well as a consumer-focused, e-commerce shoe store. They are centralized, but dadgummit, they are exceptional at shipping shoes out. I mean, we get shoes, and if we don't like them, we ship them back for free. So the OpenBazaar concept, a decentralized marketplace, is not going to win against a Zappos where there's operational complexity at its utmost. You have things moving all over the world, logistical nightmares, but yet their ability to centralize that decision making and make the best decisions for that niche customer demographic has proved them well. Another example, another issue around decentralization is when you have a decentralized decision making and governance. Certainly this is true when it comes to an example of, like, let's say Steemit, which is a reward creators and discoverers type of model, versus a Reddit or a Bitcoin.pub. And so, Steemit says, hey, we're going to reward creators and we're going to reward discoverers. But we've already seen that in Reddit. And Reddit is, quote unquote, a centralized, owned system, and it works exceptionally well. There's no need to delete Reddit. It's working. It's working well. Whereas the Steemit, in my opinion, Steemit is, they need to focus on UI. They need to focus on customer onboarding. They need to focus on usability of their system. They need to work on scalability of their system. Whereas a centralized system like Reddit or the Bitcoin.pub, which is another great forum out there, these are centralized. And in my opinion, they're far more effective. And so I think it's important for us to understand where decentralization fits and where decentralization doesn't fit. And if I can recap that for your listeners, it would be simply this. When operational complexity increases, decentralization doesn't make it as much sense. And decentralization is very hard when it comes to decentralized decision-making and decentralized governance. And so if you take these things into account while you're looking into new projects, one of the first things that I ask myself when I'm looking into a new blockchain project is, why does this need to be decentralized? And if I can't find a good rationale or reason for it, it's probably not a good reason to invest. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's well put, and it's something that I've done a lot of thinking about, and it kind of goes to show why Bitcoin is one of the reasons why decentralization works so well. It's nice to have no one in control of the money, and it's simple. It's nothing too complex. It didn't get in one way or another. We've come to know that it's secure. It's developing, the technology is moving along as it should, and it's a really exciting thing that we have. And probably the primary reason that we need decentralization, but decentralization isn't the altruistic goal moving forward.
It should never be. And so another consideration for your listeners is, if they're looking into a coin to invest in or a new blockchain project, is, are they touting decentralization over value? And if so, that's a red flag for me. If they're preaching on their white paper, on their website, hey, we're all about decentralization and immutability of the code and censorship resistance, and you're like, well, where's the value? What do we as customers get out of giving you $1,000 in investment capital for a token? If decentralization and these type of principles that they like to espouse is greater than the value of their product, then something's wrong. Their websites, their white papers should be focusing on the use case, the market need for this use case, and the value it will imminently create for consumers around the world. And if that's not the focus, and their focus is talking about these nice, cool taglines like decentralization and immutability and censorship, if they're using all these types of pretty words, you're probably moving into a position where you don't want to be.
All right, final question here, Peter. Coinbase was a conventional on-ramp for millions of new Bitcoin users. Do you suspect it will be an ongoing growth through mainstream conventional means that continues to popularize cryptocurrencies? And basically what I mean by that, or will it come from the outside for people sidestepping the conventional system, seeking individual sovereignty? Will it be conventional means, giving up people's privacy and going and using methods like Coinbase, or is it going to happen because of an overburdensome environment that causes people to go into Bitcoin because they're seeking individual sovereignty?
Great question. I still think that Bitcoin for the mass consumers is a novelty. It's something they've probably heard of from the mainstream media or something that their friends talked about, but it really is a novelty. Now, when it comes to Coinbase, Coinbase is a centralized system, and it works exceptionally well. As much as the purists in Bitcoin and blockchain will say, oh, Coinbase is not decentralized. Well, hey, I bet you if they started with decentralization, their product would suck. Because we've seen decentralized exchanges out there, and frankly, they suck. They're not good. They're not mature. And so Coinbase still is, in my opinion, one of the best primary on-ramps to brand new people to cryptocurrency. Their UI is solid, it's easy, it's intuitive, and let's be honest, it's pretty. And so for brand new people getting the cryptocurrency, Coinbase is a great mechanism to get into it. Plus, if I may be shilling Coinbase here, Coinbase has a lot of great upgrades that they're bringing down. So they're working with the SEC right now to talk about becoming a potential broker, which you might be interested in yourself. So that's a big deal. It will also give them a lot more regulatory oversight. So that's a risk to Coinbase. But secondly, they're also looking to add more support for massive amounts of forks. And so that is going to help grow the Bitcoin ecosystem. They also just opened up a Coinbase venture fund. And so they're looking to invest in startups, which we're excited about because we're building a social exchange called yen.io. And so we're hoping, hey, Coinbase, if you're out there, let us know. We'd love for you to invest in us. But so there's a lot of great things coming down the pipe for Coinbase. Now, to your question, and I'll finish off with this, are people going to be choosing to go to Bitcoin because of their desire for financial autonomy, financial sovereignty over their own value? I just being in the community as much as I have and engaging with our direct community through our streams and through the bitcoin.pub and through patreon.com/pub, most people get into cryptocurrency because there's an opportunity to make money. And I think that is where it needs to be right now for the incentives to learn about this, maybe lose your shirt in the process, because many people have been left holding bags, especially in January, February, March period of this year, especially if they got in December. But people are looking for the monetary opportunities that Bitcoin provides. And I think once we get them into the ecosystem, people will realize that there's greater and more radical change and more radical ideas that Bitcoin espouses that I think can fundamentally change not only the way that we do work, but most importantly, the way that we financially transact. And I think that, for me, is far more important at a long-tail game than the short-term price action, the short-term gains that investors get when they come into cryptocurrency.
Wow. Well put, Peter. Peter Saddington. Peter, if people want to learn more about what you're doing, get more information from you, more content, let them know where they can go and what they can find. And thank you so much for coming on Crush the Street.
I appreciate it. I'd love to help out whenever I can. You guys can find me on decentralized.tv. That's our YouTube homepage of sorts, decentralized.tv, and from there you can go. You can find me on Twitter at Bite-Size Bitcoin or Decentralized TV. I'm not hard to find, so check me out, look me up, and say hi. We'd love to encourage everyone to get into cryptocurrency. It's a powerful new technology, and I'm super excited to be really part of the fabric of this community. It's a lot of fun.